In the intricate world of royal life, where tradition collides with personal loyalties and every gesture carries weight, decisions are rarely simple. Yet, even within such a carefully managed institution, there are moments when private choices ripple outward, threatening to unsettle even the most composed figures at its heart. One such moment, whispered about behind palace doors and speculated upon in royal circles, centers on Carol Middleton, the quietly influential matriarch whose rise from middle class entrepreneur to grandmother of a future king has been nothing short of remarkable. For decades, Carol has been known not for controversy, but for discretion. She is the steady presence behind Catherine, Princess of Wales, a woman who built her reputation on loyalty, family values, and an almost unbreakable commitment to staying out of royal turbulence. And yet, according to insiders and observers alike, a recent tough decision attributed to Carol has stirred tension in the royal orbit, particularly with Queen Camilla, a figure who has spent years consolidating her own position within the monarchy. Whether rooted in reality, perception, or the ever hungry machinery of royal speculation, the story of this alleged clash reveals something deeper: the evolving power dynamics of a modern monarchy and the growing influence of a family once considered outsiders. To understand why any decision by Carol Middleton might cause friction, one must first understand her role, not just as Catherine's mother, but as a stabilizing force within the royal ecosystem. Carol Middleton is not royal by birth. She did not grow up navigating palace corridors or adhering to centuries old etiquette. Instead, she built her life through business acumen, raising a family grounded in normalcy before destiny placed her daughter in line to become queen. Over time, however, her position has shifted dramatically. Once regarded with cautious curiosity by the royal establishment, Carol has become, by many accounts, an integral part of the extended royal family. Observers note her almost unheard of discretion and loyalty, traits that helped transform her from an outsider into someone deeply trusted within royal circles. Her influence is subtle, but significant. Prince William is said to rely on her as a source of emotional support, so much so that some insiders have described her as a second mother figure to him. She provides something the royal family has often lacked: normality. But in a system built on hierarchy and tradition, influence, especially unofficial influence, can be a delicate thing. The alleged tough decision attributed to Carol Middleton has been described in varying ways by royal watchers. Some say it relates to family priorities, perhaps choosing to step back from certain royal expectations in favor of supporting her daughter during difficult times. Others suggest it may involve a more assertive stance regarding her family's role within the monarchy, drawing boundaries where previously there had been quiet compliance. And then there are the more dramatic whispers that Carol may have challenged long standing norms, refusing to defer in situations where she once might have remained silent. While no verified public report confirms a specific incident causing conflict, the narrative persists. Why? Because it fits into a broader, evolving story. Queen Camilla's journey to the throne has been anything but straightforward. Once one of the most controversial figures in British royal history, she has spent years rebuilding her image, earning respect through dedication, resilience, and a commitment to her role. Her position today is secure, but not immune to pressure. The royal family is undergoing a generational transition. King Charles represents continuity, but Prince William and Catherine embody the future, and alongside them stands the Middleton family, a presence that challenges traditional aristocratic norms. For Camilla, this shift presents both opportunity and tension. On one hand, a more modern monarchy benefits from figures like Carol, grounded, relatable, and widely admired. On the other hand, the growing influence of non royal figures could be perceived as altering the balance of power within the institution. It is within this context that any tough decision by Carol, real or perceived, takes on amplified significance. Recent public appearances suggest harmony, not conflict. At the 2026 Cheltenham Festival, Carol Middleton was seen engaging warmly with senior royals, including Queen Camilla, Princess Anne, and Zara Tindall. Photographs captured laughter, shared moments, and an ease that seemed to signal genuine camaraderie. Observers noted how seamlessly Carol fit into the royal environment, no longer a guest, but part of the family itself. And yet, royal history teaches us that public appearances often conceal more complex realities. Behind the smiles, there are always layers. What truly sets Carol Middleton apart is not just her personal relationship with Catherine, but the broader influence of the Middleton family on the monarchy. They represent something new, a break from aristocratic lineage, a focus on emotional support over protocol, a modern approach to family life. Prince William's close bond with the Middletons has helped shape his vision for the future monarchy, one that is less rigid, more relatable, and deeply rooted in family values. This shift, while widely popular with the public, may not sit comfortably with everyone within royal circles. Tradition, after all, is not easily rewritten. At the heart of this story lies a simple truth: Carol Middleton is, above all else, a mother. Her decisions, whatever they may be, are likely driven not by ambition or defiance, but by a desire to protect and support her daughter. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has faced significant challenges in recent years, including health struggles that required both privacy and strength. During these times, Carol's role has been crucial. She has been present behind the scenes, supporting her daughter, helping care for her grandchildren, and providing the stability that the royal family, with all its obligations, cannot always offer. If her tough decision involves prioritizing family over royal expectations, it would not be surprising, but it could still create tension. One of the most intriguing aspects of this alleged situation is the question of boundaries. Where does the influence of the Middleton family begin, and where should it end? For some within royal circles, the answer may be clear. Non royal family members should remain supportive but not influential. For others, particularly within the younger generation, the lines are more flexible. Carol's presence challenges traditional expectations. She is not simply a supportive mother in law, she is a trusted advisor, a confidant, and, arguably, a quiet force within the monarchy. That level of influence, while beneficial in many ways, may also be unsettling. If reports of her being upset hold any truth, it is worth considering Queen Camilla's perspective. She has spent decades navigating scrutiny, criticism, and the complexities of royal life. Her position was hard won. To then witness the growing influence of another powerful woman, one who operates outside the traditional royal framework, could naturally create moments of tension. Not necessarily conflict, but sensitivity. In a system where roles are carefully defined, even subtle shifts can feel significant. Ultimately, the story of Carol Middleton and Queen Camilla is not just about individuals, it is about change. The British monarchy is evolving, adapting to a world that demands authenticity, relatability, and emotional connection. Figures like Carol represent that change. She embodies a different kind of influence, one rooted not in title, but in trust. And as the monarchy moves forward, that kind of influence may become increasingly important, but transitions are rarely smooth. It is important to separate fact from speculation. Verified reports show Carol Middleton enjoys a warm and growing relationship with senior royals. She has become a trusted and integral figure within the royal family. There is no confirmed public evidence of a dramatic fallout or confrontation with Queen Camilla. The idea of tension, therefore, may be more narrative than reality, driven by fascination with royal dynamics and the natural intrigue surrounding powerful personalities. But even narratives reveal something important. They reflect how people perceive the monarchy and the roles within it. Whether or not Carol Middleton's tough decision truly sparked tension, the conversation itself highlights a shifting royal landscape. A monarchy once defined by rigid hierarchy is becoming more fluid. Relationships matter more than titles. Influence is no longer confined to those born into royalty. And at the center of this transformation stands Carol Middleton, a woman who, without ever seeking the spotlight, has become one of the most quietly powerful figures in modern royal life. If there is tension, it is likely not rooted in conflict, but in change. Change challenges tradition. Change reshapes roles, and change, even when necessary, can be uncomfortable. For Queen Camilla, for Carol Middleton, and for the monarchy itself, this moment, real or imagined, represents something larger than a single decision. It represents the future, a future where the definition of royalty is no longer fixed, but evolving, and where the most powerful influence may come not from crowns, but from those who stand just outside them. What makes royal tension so compelling is not what is said, but what isn't. Palace insiders often describe moments of unease not through raised voices or open disagreement, but through something far subtler: pauses in conversation, carefully chosen words, a shift in seating arrangements, or the absence of an expected invitation. If Carol Middleton's decision truly unsettled Queen Camilla, those signs would not be dramatic. They would be almost invisible to the outside world. And yet, within royal circles, such subtleties speak volumes. There are whispers, unconfirmed, of course, that following this so called decision, interactions between certain members of the extended royal family became more measured, not colder, but more deliberate, more aware, a recalibration. Carol Middleton's strength has never been loud. She does not command attention in the way that royal figures are expected to. She does not deliver speeches or shape public narratives directly. Instead, she operates through presence. She is there when Catherine needs her. She is there when William seeks grounding. She is there for the children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, offering a sense of normalcy that palace life cannot replicate. And that presence over time has become something powerful. Some insiders suggest that this very presence, this unwavering closeness to the future king's immediate family, has elevated Carol into a position that is quietly unprecedented, not official, but influential. Traditionally, influence within the royal family flows through hierarchy. The monarch leads, senior royals support, extended family members remain at a respectful distance. But the modern monarchy does not operate entirely by those rules anymore. Prince William and Catherine represent a new model, one shaped not only by duty, but by emotional intelligence, personal experience, and a desire to do things differently. And within that model, the Middletons are not outsiders. They are insiders. This shift may seem subtle, but its implications are significant. Because influence that exists outside official structures is difficult to define and even more difficult to manage. While no single confirmed event has been publicly identified, those who follow royal dynamics closely often point to a broader moment, a turning point rather than an incident. A moment when Carol Middleton stopped simply adapting to royal expectations and began shaping them. Perhaps it was a decision to prioritize Catherine's well being over royal appearances. Perhaps it involved setting boundaries around family time. Or perhaps it was something even quieter, a refusal to step back when her presence was needed most. Whatever the case, the perception of change is enough to create tension, because in the monarchy, perception is everything. Queen Camilla's position requires extraordinary balance. She must support the king, maintain relationships across generations, and uphold traditions while adapting to modern expectations. She has done so with remarkable composure, but even the most composed figures are not immune to the complexities of shifting dynamics. If Carol Middleton's influence is growing, as many believe it introduces a new variable into an already intricate system, not a threat, but a factor. And in royal life, even small factors can have significant consequences. At the center of this narrative are two women who could not be more different, and yet share surprising similarities. Queen Camilla, born into aristocratic society, navigated decades of public scrutiny, earned her place through resilience, represents continuity and tradition. Carol Middleton, self made entrepreneur, entered royal life through her daughter, built influence through trust and discretion, represents modernity and change. Both women are strong, both are deeply loyal to their families, both understand the weight of expectation, and perhaps that is why the idea of tension between them feels so compelling. Not because they are opposites, but because they are equals in ways that are rarely acknowledged. Caught, at least symbolically, between these two forces is Catherine, Princess of Wales, a future queen, a daughter, a bridge between worlds. Catherine has always managed her dual identity with remarkable grace. She honors royal tradition while maintaining deep ties to her family. But if tensions were to exist, even quietly, between her mother and the queen, it would place her in an incredibly delicate position. One that requires careful navigation, one that demands balance, and one that she, perhaps more than anyone, is uniquely equipped to handle. The monarchy thrives on image, and publicly, the image remains intact. Smiles, shared conversations, moments of apparent ease. Events like Cheltenham reinforce the narrative of unity, of a royal family moving forward together, strengthened by its diversity. But history reminds us that public harmony does not always reflect private complexity. Behind the scenes, relationships evolve, perspectives shift, and tensions, if they exist, are managed quietly, carefully, and with an understanding that the institution must always come first. What makes this story truly significant is what it suggests about the future. The monarchy is no longer defined solely by lineage. It is shaped by relationships, by trust, by emotional support systems that extend beyond traditional boundaries. Carol Middleton represents this new reality. She is not royal, and yet she is indispensable. That changes everything because it raises a fundamental question. Who truly holds influence in a modern monarchy? Is it those with titles or those with trust? Power within the royal family has always been complex, but today it is becoming more nuanced than ever. There is official power defined by roles, titles, and responsibilities. And then there is personal power defined by relationships, loyalty, and emotional connection. Carol Middleton embodies the latter, and in many ways, that kind of power is more enduring. It cannot be granted, it cannot be removed, it can only be earned. Despite all the speculation, one thing remains clear. Both Queen Camilla and Carol Middleton understand the importance of unity. They know that the strength of the monarchy depends on stability, on cohesion, on the ability to navigate differences without allowing them to become divisions. If there is tension, it is likely managed with care, with respect, and with an unspoken agreement that the institution must always come before individual perspectives. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this narrative is not whether the tension exists, but why it resonates so strongly. It speaks to a broader cultural shift, a world where traditional structures are being re examined, where influence is no longer confined to established hierarchies, and where individuals from outside those hierarchies can play pivotal roles. Carol Middleton's story is, in many ways, a reflection of that shift, and Queen Camilla's story is a reminder of the endurance of tradition. Together, they represent the past and the future of the monarchy, coexisting sometimes uneasily, but ultimately shaping its evolution. As the royal family continues to navigate this period of transition, one thing is certain: the dynamics will continue to evolve, roles will adapt, relationships will deepen, and figures like Carol Middleton will play an increasingly important role in shaping the monarchy's future. Whether or not her tough decision truly sparked tension, it has highlighted something undeniable. The monarchy is changing, and with change comes complexity. In the end, the story of Carol Middleton and Queen Camilla is not one of conflict, but of transformation. It is about two women navigating a system that is itself in flux. Two figures representing different eras, different paths, different kinds of power, and yet bound by a shared responsibility to the same institution. If there is tension, it is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of evolution. Because even the most enduring traditions must adapt, must. And sometimes the most significant changes begin not with grand gestures, but with a single, quiet decision. In royal life, stories rarely begin with headlines. They begin in whispers, a comment overheard at a private luncheon, a remark exchanged between aides, a subtle observation from someone who has watched the institution long enough to recognize when something has shifted, even slightly. And then, almost imperceptibly, those whispers begin to travel across drawing rooms, through private offices, into the ears of those who shape narratives. By the time the public becomes aware of a story, it has already taken on a life of its own. That is how the narrative surrounding Carol Middleton's tough decision began to evolve, not as a confirmed event, but as a growing sense that something, somewhere, had changed. The modern media landscape thrives on interpretation. When facts are scarce, narratives fill the space. Royal coverage, in particular, operates within this delicate balance, where access is limited, statements are controlled, and silence often invites speculation. In this case, the ingredients were irresistible. A powerful, quietly influential mother, a queen whose journey to acceptance was hard earned, a modern monarchy in transition, and a decision, undefined, but emotionally charged. It didn't take long for commentary to emerge. Some framed the story as a clash of influence. Others suggested it was a natural growing pain within a changing institution. A few leaned into drama, portraying it as a subtle power struggle between two strong women. But beneath the headlines, a more nuanced conversation was unfolding. For years, Carol Middleton had been viewed almost universally positively. She was the supportive mother, the discreet presence, the symbol of grounded normality within a royal world often seen as distant. But as her influence became more visible, even indirectly, public perception began to evolve, not negatively, but differently. People began to ask questions. How much influence does she really have? Should non royal family members play such a central role? Is this a strength or a complication for the monarchy? At the same time, Queen Camilla's image had undergone its own transformation. Once controversial, she had steadily gained respect. Her commitment to duty, her resilience, and her ability to navigate a complex role had earned her a place in the public's acceptance. And so, the narrative became more layered. It was no longer about good versus bad, it was about balance. Every institution has boundaries, even if they are not written down. In the monarchy, those boundaries are often understood rather than stated. Who speaks? Who leads? Who influences? And from where? Carol Middleton's position exists just beyond that traditional boundary. She is not a royal, but she is closer to the future of the monarchy than many who are. That creates an invisible line, one that is constantly negotiated. If her tough decision involved stepping closer to that line or even crossing it in some way, it would naturally draw attention, not necessarily criticism, but awareness. Within the palace, reactions, if they exist, would not be dramatic. They would be measured, carefully considered, handled through conversation rather than confrontation. Royal households operate on a principle of controlled equilibrium. Issues are addressed quietly, differences are managed diplomatically, and above all, unity is preserved. If Queen Camilla felt unsettled, it is unlikely to have been expressed publicly or even directly. Instead, it would manifest in subtle ways. A shift in how certain matters are handled, a recalibration of roles during key moments, a renewed emphasis on protocol, not conflict, but adjustment. At the center of all this, though rarely discussed directly, is Prince William, the future king, the bridge between tradition and transformation. William's relationship with the Middleton family has always been close. They represent comfort, stability, and a sense of normal life that has shaped his perspective in profound ways. But he is also deeply aware of the responsibilities he carries, the need to maintain unity within the royal family, the importance of respecting hierarchy, the expectation that he will one day lead the institution. If tensions exist, real or perceived, William's role would be crucial, not as a mediator in conflict, but as a steady presence ensuring that balance is maintained. If William is the bridge, Catherine is the anchor. Her ability to navigate complexity with calm and composure has been one of her defining strengths. She understands both worlds, the world she was born into and the world she married into. That dual understanding gives her a unique perspective. If her mother's decision has created ripples, Catherine would likely be the one ensuring those ripples do not become waves through quiet reassurance, through careful communication, through the same grace that has defined her role from the beginning. Every royal story reaches a moment where perception solidifies, not because of a single event, but because of accumulation. Small details, repeated themes, subtle signals. In this case, the turning point may not come from confirmation of any tension, but from the persistence of the narrative itself. When a story continues to circulate, it begins to shape how people interpret future events. A glance becomes meaningful, a decision becomes symbolic, a moment becomes evidence, and suddenly, even ordinary interactions are viewed through a different lens. There is a risk in stories like this, not because they are necessarily false, but because they can become self sustaining. The more people believe there is tension, the more they look for it. And the more they look for it, the more they think they see it. This is the paradox of royal narratives. They are powerful not only because of what is true, but because of what feels plausible. And in a monarchy defined by both tradition and change, stories of internal tension will always feel plausible. And yet, behind all the speculation, there is a quieter, more grounded reality. The royal family continues to function. Appearances are made, responsibilities are fulfilled, relationships, whatever their complexities, continue. Carol Middleton remains a supportive presence. Queen Camilla continues her role with composure. The institution moves forward because it must. What this story ultimately reveals is not a conflict, but a transition, a monarchy adjusting to new realities, a system learning to incorporate new forms of influence, a balance being negotiated between tradition and modernity. Carol Middleton represents one side of that equation. Queen Camilla represents the other, and somewhere between them lies the future. In institutions as historic as the monarchy, change is rarely abstract. It feels personal because it affects people, relationships, roles, expectations. If Carol Middleton's tough decision has created even a hint of tension, it is not a sign of division. It is a sign that the monarchy is evolving, that it is adapting, that it is, in its own careful way, moving forward. And in that movement, there will always be moments of uncertainty, moments of adjustment, moments where even the most composed figures must find new ways to coexist within a changing system.